Right, my name's Marcus. I run MS Lighting Design, and today I am going to talk about project management. Now, we specialize mainly in residential projects, but hopefully this can be transferred onto onto commercial projects and other situations. So, why am I talking about project management? Lighting designers, we don't do this sort of stuff. Why do we want to do it? Well, we're lighting designers, and what we want to do is create beautiful environments. We want to have gorgeous spaces. People go in and they have an experience. They feel comfortable. They're excited by these spaces that they're going into. And lighting is an intrinsic part of this. So we want to make that happen. But part of the key reasons for this is you need to actually create this space. But as I said, we're designers. Why do we need to do this? We produce the design, give it over. Other people implement this. We're not contractors. We don't build this sort of stuff. They should follow all the documents we produce, and they should know how to do this. But when you think about it, these projects are a reflection of your work. We are lighting designers, we're creative people, we love to create beautiful spaces, and we want our clients and other people to experience this. Okay? If you have a poorly finished project, that's going to be associated with you, and that's not good for your reputation. Poorly run projects, delayed projects, again, not going to really build confidence in your design skills and what you're doing. And as a relatively young industry, we want people to buy into the idea of needing lighting design, because it is necessary. It's important for people to have good lighting design, because it makes a real difference to their lives. Okay? If we're there during the project management phase, it's going to be easier to get a good finish. And at the end of the day, if we don't have nicely finished projects, there's going to be less chance of doing future projects, which we all want to be able to do. Okay? So what we have to do is have this balance between no control and just saying, here you go, here's the package, get on with it, and having total control, where we go and hire all the contractors and we run them, we tell them every minute detail which they have to do on the project. So we have to find the balance between these two, because we don't want to be running contractors, but we need to help them out a little bit. So the first step starts before you've even done the design. Okay? What you need to do is talk to your client and get a proper brief from them. Find out what they want to achieve. What are their goals? What are their desires for this project? And sometimes clients don't even know what they want. Okay? We need to go there and we need to talk to them. We need to make them think about what they're trying to achieve with this project. What are the critical elements? Is it time? Does it have to be finished by a very tight deadline? Is it budget? Is it very low budget? How is that going to affect it? And we need to discover this to find out why they're doing this project. Right? Once we've found out why they're doing it, we can guide them to the best solution. We can come up with a lighting design. We can inspire them. We can show them things they've never seen before. We can get them excited. We can give them choices. And they are educated about what we're trying to do. They understand why we're doing it, why we're making those choices, and they get to say, yes, I want to go ahead with this. Okay? And if you can get their buy-in, this is really important for later on. The reason this is important is because if your client believes in what you're doing, okay, they'll protect your design. We do the lighting design very early on in a project, and then the project gets going, and suddenly budget start spending it everywhere, except where you're going to spend it on the lighting, which comes later on when they're going to buy that lighting equipment. So what we don't want them to do is compromise what we've done on the lighting design. We don't want them making changes. Someone's going to come in there and they're going to be like, oh, we just want to tweak this. We want to adjust that. Oh, can we substitute this fitting in because it's cheaper? But if your client believes in what you've done, they'll understand the reasons why you've made those choices, and they'll want to protect it because they want that final result. Okay? So you've got to get the client to believe in what you're doing, because they're going to help you protect it at the end of the day. Then you need to get the design team and the management involved as well. Okay? You need to work with them. Lighting design is a collaborative career. You need to bring all these people together. You need to talk to the architect, the interior designer, project management. You need to understand what's going on in that project, what they want, what are their inputs, what do they value, what do they want to get out of this project, and work with them and evolve that design. Okay? Because they also have to understand what you want. We can't do lighting design on our own. We have to have these other roles there to support us and create the structure and build everything for our light to light onto something. So it's important that we get them on board and we work in this collaborative way to really create a project which is going to function at the end. And then finally, you need to support the contractor. Now, often, the contractor gets left until last. They are left to get on with it. They have a lot of other pressures. But what you need to do is understand what motivates that contractor. Why are they doing this? They're doing it because they want jobs, they want to build. But actually, a lot of contractors love what they do. They love creating spaces. But they often find themselves a bit lost. They don't really know what's going on. They're confused. And so what you want to do is you want to support them, okay? You want to help them out. And then, when it comes to any problems, they're going to give you a call. They're going to check things with you. They're going to make sure, is this the right way of doing it? They're less likely to go in there and try and substitute different products in or try and change what you've created. They're going to actually work to build your lighting design. Because we're not building it, they're building it. So we need to support them to be able to build it. And this will hopefully all lead to a successful project. So next, what we need to do is tackle some key problem areas. Now this, for me, is something that comes up time and again on different projects which I see. And I work really hard to make sure that we tackle this as early on as possible. So the first is control gear specification, then control gear location, and finally lighting controls. And these are often problem areas which can cause delays later on. So first is control gear specification. If you don't get the right control gear, it's not going to function properly. And while it might be something you leave up to contractors, you leave it up to lighting suppliers, I think as lighting designers, we should be a lot more involved in this. We should know what control gear is going in there. Does it actually function the way we want it to function? Because if they get that wrong, then the lighting is not going to work properly. And people won't look at it and go, oh, they've got the wrong control gear. They'll look at it and say, oh, that's bad lighting design. Okay? You get the blame. It's not going to reflect on anyone else. They just see bad lighting. Okay? People don't see good lighting. They see beautiful spaces, but they will see bad lighting. Okay? So I think it's really important to get involved in this. One of the key areas is dimming and making things dimmable. Just seeing something as dimmable is not okay. As we all know, there are many different types of dimming. They require different wiring. We need to actually find out what that is for a product, make sure it's specified correctly, check, especially with decorative fittings, are they dimmable? How are they going to work? We can't assume that things are going to dim. We can't assume they're going to function on your standard twin and earth cable. There needs to be extras run in there. And so we need to make sure this is happening early on. We need to help specify this control gear to make sure that it's right within the project. So if we don't do this early on, it's not going to get done later on. It's going to cause huge problems, okay? You need to check the manufacturer's specifications. Are there limits in distances? Because if you're going to put a fitting in the center of the room and you need to have remote control gear, how far away is that control gear going to go? If the contractor doesn't plan for this early enough, then it might end up 20, 30, 40 meters away. You get volt drops. Things are not going to work properly. So you have to consider all of this and how it's going to work within there. Number of drivers, if they don't run the right number of cables out. So you might have a very high output LED strip, but you need 3 or 4 drivers to run for the complete room, but the contractor gets 1 cable there. Because he didn't know. He's only going to know when it gets to second fix and those drivers turn up and he's like, oh, I haven't got the right cables here. I haven't run enough. And then your lighting won't function. So it's really important to get involved in this because this is what's going to make the lighting work. Next, we have control gear location. So all of this control gear, all these accessories need to be hidden somewhere. And when you hide them away, they need to be accessible. Now, when you go through the design process and start construction, often lighting and the electrical design runs in parallel to joinery design. And you want to hide a lot of this control gear in the joinery in that property. Okay? But often it's not discussed with the joinery company how you're going to access this, how you're going to maintain it, how it's going to be wired in, how much space has been allowed for it. Now, it's really important to do this because otherwise, if it's left to when the electrical contractor is on site, what you'll have is you will have this delay. You will have to go back to the joiner who maybe has completed shop drawings and tell them, actually, we need to rework all of this because it turns out we've got to hide 20 drivers in this cupboard. Can you build us an access panel? Can you design this in? And then the joiner has to go back, rework shop drawings, get it all okayed by the design team, how they're going to do this. This process might take 3 or 4 weeks. And then suddenly, you've shaved 3 or 4 weeks off your finished schedule. It's not going to work. That joinery might take 12 weeks to produce, and they're going to want to deliver that right at the end. If you're going to push it back 3 or 4 weeks, that's affecting the finished date of the project. So if you plan for this early on, and you know what's going to be going in there, then what you can do is you can make sure this is allowed for in the joinery. That can all be taken into account in the design phase, and then there are no delays in delivering that to site. So this is why it's important, because it will affect the project. And if you're going to cause huge delays, then there are either going to be compromises made on the lighting, or the project's going to be delayed, and that's going to reflect badly on you. Finally, there's lighting controls. So often, lighting controls are left up to AV suppliers for projects, and they might not understand about what you want to achieve with lighting. When you're using a lighting control system, you're going to use scenes. You want to create that atmosphere, that mood, that wow moment when a client walks in and they press one button and suddenly they're blown away by how the space looks. And the lighting is intrinsic to that. Now, if you don't work with the control system company, you might end up with a switch on the wall which has got 20 buttons. And what's the client going to press? They don't know what they're going to do. They're confused. So they're going to be upset. They don't know how to use their lighting. They're scared to touch anything because it looks like a computer. You want to make it simple. We don't want a giant slider switch or anything on the wall. What we want is to simplify it. And so we have to get really involved in this and in the commissioning to make sure they set it up properly. Because they might not care about your lighting. They care about their AV system. Does the system work? Great. But you care about creating that experience for the client. Okay? Now we get on to my final tips. So the first one is contractors. You need to understand what motivates them. Why are they on this job? What do they want to achieve? They want to get the job done. They don't want to have to repeat their work again because they've made mistakes. No one likes ripping out stuff to do it all again. So you understand what motivates them and then use that to your advantage. Work with them. I like this quote from Abraham Lincoln. The best way to destroy an enemy is to make them a friend. Okay? Get that contractor on side. Okay? If you work with them, they're going to make sure it's all done correctly. Okay? Next, plan ahead. Make sure you can answer those contractors' questions ahead of time. You've got all the information there. You can point them to the right tools. They might not check their design package. Okay? You can only do so much, but if you brief them, if you make sure you're there available to answer their questions, then they will be willing to engage with you and make sure that you get a good outcome. Okay? When there's a problem, don't play the blame game. Often people just say, it's not my problem, I've done my design. Engage. Get involved. Okay? If a problem comes up, you shouldn't be thinking, oh no, you should be thinking, great. We can get this sorted. It can be a positive outcome. We can get it all sorted out for the client. And at the end of the day, the client is going to be happy because they see that you're there not to be paid. You're there because you care about the design. You care about getting it right. You haven't just had your paycheck and you're done and you're not involved anymore. You want to be involved. You want a good outcome. And this will lead to better projects and a better finish. So thank you very much. I hope that helps a little bit with running your projects.